They were the sweethearts of a generation, the voices that lifted a nation at war, but behind the perfect harmonies and million-dollar smiles, the Andrews sisters were fighting a battle of their own, one that would end in betrayal so deep it tore them apart forever. Patty Andrews didn't just quit the group in 1953, she turned her back on her sisters in a way that no one saw coming. She sued them. She claimed their shared fortune for herself, and from that day on, she never spoke to them again. What drove this tight-knit trio from stardom to silence? This is the untold story of how America's favorite singing sisters became bitter enemies. Their rise was like something out of a movie. Laverne, Maxine, and Patty Andrews grew up in Minneapolis, daughters of a Greek immigrant and a Norwegian mother. Life wasn't easy. Long before they took the stage, tragedy had already struck their family. Their baby brother, Anglin, died at just 8 months old, and that loss left a scar. Their parents, Peter and Olga, poured everything they had into their daughters, especially their music. From childhood, the girls practiced for hours, perfecting harmonies so tight they could stop you in your tracks. They idolized the Boswell sisters, mimicking every note until they found a sound that was all their own. Music wasn't just a dream for them. It was their only way out. The Great Depression hit hard. Their father's restaurant failed, and with no money coming in, the family faced desperate times. But the sisters refused to give up. They hit the road, singing in any place that would have them. School dances, vaudeville stages, even silent movie theaters. Sometimes they made pennies, sometimes nothing at all. But their voices kept them going. Every night, they sang like their lives depended on it, because they did. By the time they won a talent contest in 1931, the Andrews sisters were ready. That victory opened the door to Larry Rich's vaudeville troupe, throwing them into the rough-and-tumble world of live entertainment. They faced sabotage, jealousy, and every dirty trick in the book, but they learned to survive and to shine. They took the hard knocks and turned them into lessons. How to command a crowd, how to make them laugh, how to keep them coming back for more. Their big break came in 1937 with a song called Be Mir Bist Du Schön. It wasn't even in English at first, but they made it their own. Within weeks, it was the most played song in New York, and within months, it sold over 1 million copies. They made history as the first female group to do it, but they only got $50 from the deal. A bad contract left them almost penniless, while their song played around the world, even in Nazi Germany, until its Jewish roots got it banned. Still, in America, the Andrews sisters had arrived. Their sound was electric. They layered their voices like brass instruments, creating harmonies that swung with energy and precision. They didn't just sing the songs, they became them. With hits like Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy and Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree, they ruled the airwaves. And when the world went to war, their music followed. They became the soundtrack of World War II, bringing hope and joy to soldiers who needed a reason to smile. But behind the scenes, the cracks were already showing. Maxine, the serious and business-minded middle sister, clashed often with Patty, the outgoing youngest who took the spotlight as lead singer. Their arguments weren't just about music. Everything from money to makeup became a fight. Still, they held it together for a while. Maxine's secret marriage to their manager, Lou Levy, in 1941, added fuel to the fire. She kept it hidden for months, telling only Patty. When Laverne found out, the trust between them fractured. But the real shock came in 1951. Patty, without warning, walked away to go solo. 2 years later, the lawsuit followed. It wasn't just a breakup, it was betrayal. While they smiled for the cameras, they were tearing each other apart. Laverne tried to play peacemaker, managing the group's affairs and holding the center as long as she could. But even she couldn't stop the collapse. The timing couldn't have been worse. Swing music, which had once ruled dance halls and radio stations, was dying. After the war, America wanted something new. Big bands struggled under the weight of high taxes, gas rationing, and shifting tastes. Singers like Frank Sinatra became the new stars. Rock and roll was just around the corner, and the Andrews sisters, who had once defined an era, were suddenly out of place. By the mid-1940s, they had sold millions of records, starred in 17 films, and toured the world with the USO, performing for soldiers just miles from enemy lines. They were icons, but fame couldn't heal old wounds. Patti's solo career never took off like she hoped. Maxine and Laverne tried to pick up the pieces, but it was never the same. They went from earning $20,000 a week, a fortune in those days, to silence. And when Patti cut ties for good, it was the final note in a song that had once made America believe in something pure and good. The sisters who sang side by side for decades ended their story apart. The end of the Andrews sisters' story is as haunting as their harmonies were sweet. Once America's darlings, they sang hope into the hearts of soldiers during World War II. Their voices a lifeline in the darkest times. But behind the music, their bond was unraveling. Patti, Maxine, and Laverne had once seemed inseparable. Superstars selling millions of records with their tight harmonies and infectious energy. Songs like Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy and Rum and Coca-Cola defined an era. But fame can be a double-edged sword, and theirs cut deep. Patti's decision to go solo in 1953 without warning her sisters felt like betrayal on an epic scale. Maxine and Laverne found out through the tabloids, and the fracture was instant. What once was an unbreakable unit crumbled into silence and legal battles. The harmony they shared on stage became discord behind closed doors. Then came Patti's marriage to Walter Weschler, a man who had once been their pianist, now turned manager and wedge between them. He negotiated for Patti to earn more, fueling resentment that would last a lifetime. The financial favoritism, the power plays, it tore them apart, not just as a group, but as sisters. Even when they tried to reunite, first as a duo and later for one final Broadway show, the cracks ran too deep. Their story wasn't just about ambition. It was about the cost of losing each other in the chase for something more. As if their struggles weren't enough, tragedy struck again. In 1966, Laverne was diagnosed with liver cancer. She had always been the glue that held the trio together. Her death in 1967 ended not just the Andrews sisters as a musical act, but any real hope of reconciliation between Patti and Maxine. Patti lived until 2013, outliving both sisters but carrying the weight of regrets that time couldn't heal. She once admitted she wished things had ended differently, but by the time she realized it, there was nothing left to mend. They had seen each other only twice in the last 20 years of Maxine's life. Once after a heart attack, once to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And even then, they barely spoke. Maxine had her own secrets, private struggles with identity, in an era that demanded conformity. Some say it isolated her further, leaving her feeling misunderstood even within her own family. Yet she still spoke with pride about their legacy, acknowledging the love they shared while mourning the peace they never found. "I wish I had the ability to bridge the gap between my relationship with my sister," she once said, a powerful reminder that some distances, even between family, become too wide to cross. In the end, the Andrews sisters' music lives on, immortalized in more than 100 chart hits and 600 songs that defined a generation. But behind every note was a story of love, rivalry, and regret. They rose together, but heartbreakingly, they couldn't stay together. And that's the tragedy behind their timeless harmony. And there you have it, the incredible, bittersweet story of the Andrews sisters. From topping charts with timeless hits like Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy to battles behind the scenes that tore them apart, their journey was as dramatic as it was legendary. They made history, sold millions of records, and became the soundtrack of an era. But fame, family, and heartbreak don't always sing in harmony. If you found their story as fascinating as their music, go ahead and hit that like button. Drop a comment with your favorite Andrews Sisters song, or let me know which legendary group's untold story you want next. And hey, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming.